Colm Dillon is my name, and I'm the Real Estate Development Coach. And the purpose of this video is to introduce myself as well as my new course for commercial real estate development to you. For the last 3.5 years after I retired from active development, I was amazed to find the lack of information that teaches individuals about this wonderful business that I've been part of for 35 years. So the purpose of this exercise is to, one, introduce my course, but also to set down some credibility, because right now you and I are total strangers, and I want to put down some of my projects that I've built as part of my credibility in the marketplace. So I'm going to show you some of my buildings now. They certainly aren't the whole range of them. That would take far too long. And at the end of that video, I'll come back and I'll explain to you something about my course.
If you live in the beautiful city of Brisbane, you can arrive up at work on one of our ferries, the City Cat service. And appropriately, it arrives up at my most major development, which happens to be called the Riverside Centre. So here the workers arriving up at its drop-down point, and the Riverside Centre flows nicely via steps and a nice water feature up towards its alfresco dining area on the upper plaza, and we have a linkage between the river with a lovely water feature that climbs up those steps as it reaches the plaza and then leads on to a beautiful pool area just for viewing, and that then leads to the glass enclosed entrance foyer. Before we watch the tower rising up to about 40 levels from memory, each floor level being about 12,000 square feet. And I suppose the building could be described as triangular in nature, with rounded ends at each end of the triangle. This is a $400 million building in 1980 dollars, which was the largest amount ever spent on a building in Brisbane at that time. Now we've moved on to the first international hotel in Brisbane, originally called the Sheraton International Hotel, now renamed the Sofitel. Here's a closer view of it, rising up in front of our eternal flame and the clock tower. And it's 410 rooms. Here's some entrance foyer shots to show you the design style we've used internally. The interesting thing is that it was built above the central railway station for our city, so you can imagine building a building of this nature and keeping a railway service going 24/7 was indeed challenging. I think that's the best way we could go back in memory. And here's my office, Silverton Place. I used this as an office for about 6 or 7 years. And it's really quite famous, not for its architectural merit, but for the fact that it's a strata title. It was the first office building whereby business people could buy their own offices within a commercial building, all other buildings being leasable. So this was breaking a new mould. And now we move down to STC House, again an office building, which is on a 3-street island site. The building is octagonal in shape with a central core, and those are the famous roller shield blinds that I had put externally to the building. I talk about them in my course. Now we move to the Gold Coast, the famous surfers paradise, and here is Waterways. 64 apartments, 3 apartments per floor, sitting on the Nerang River, and it would be about 150 yards from the famous Surfers Paradise Beach. And here's a front video of the building. We're now going to move on to Surfers Century, which will be about 400 or 500 yards from Waterways, and it is 140 units in total, apartments I should say. I call them units in my course, and all of these sold very well in the marketplace when they were released. You are now coming down towards the entrance foyer. Unfortunately, I can't get a video of the pool. This is my own amateur video, by the way. This wasn't taken by a professional. As you can see by my juddering hand, I like to be able to do things myself. And there's a double tennis court, full-size tennis court. We're now going to gallop down to Palm Beach. This is a 30-unit development with absolute beach frontage. There's a swimming pool just in front of that building, but behind the fence line there. And so with absolute beach frontage, it's very prime indeed. The main road, access road to this will be about 70 metres behind this building. Now we move back to Surfers Paradise again to my first development up there called the Grosvenor. Now this is 56 units. There are 2 units on one side and 2 units on the other. This one shows the northeast view, which in Surfers Paradise terms is the most favoured view.
So there you have it. That's just some of my buildings that show you the commercial and residential high-rise buildings. There's a few small buildings there as well, and that's fine because many of you will be starting off on small projects. Now, what I wanted to say to you is that the constant question that new developers face is this one: what do I do next? You know, what is this process? And indeed, many of them, when they've done my course, are delighted to find out that there is such a thing as a procedure and a process to go through that is really all set out very, very logically when you actually know this industry. So that's what my real estate development course teaches you. It sets it out in real terms. So don't assume that I sit back there in university theatre mode giving you a lecture on the theories of development. Far from it. I actually tell you what to do next, specifically. Now, of course, you have to do it. But being given I've actually created a roadmap. Now, in my terms, that's called a development workflow chart. But that sounds a bit official, so I've called it a roadmap because most new developers, most people would have a street directory in their car. So the roadmap was a natural analogy for me to use to get that message across. But I take you from, assessment of a market, which is the most important thing that begins all our projects, and takes you every step right to the end of your building being finished and what you do at every stage in that entire process. Now, frankly, that has never been done before. Now, I've also written a new course for residential developers. Okay, so I've covered both spectrum because I've done both of those things. Another thing I do, I was the first one to do this in the web. In fact, I'm the only one who teaches real estate development in the world on the web. You can search libraries and you can search the web, but to actually learn how to do it for yourself, I'm the only one who does it. So I wish I could say there's 10 other or 12 other competitors, but frankly, developers make more money out of developing buildings than they do out of writing courses and selling them. I mean, I could develop one small commercial development and make more money than I would out of 10 years of marketing a real estate book. So you've got to want to do it. And I finished my development career, and this is part of my giving back to the industry and trying to bolster our image and the knowledge people have of what we do. So that's the end of my message. You'll read an awful lot of information on this site. Please read it all because real estate development is not for everybody. I fully understand that. But to make those decisions, you've got to be informed, and that's the purpose of this website. So if I see you on my web conference room where my students come once a week to ask me questions either about the course or some concept or indeed their projects, their real projects that they're building right now, they come back and ask me real questions that they're stuck on. And that's a great boon to them to be able to speak to someone who's frankly been there and done that. So if that's going to be you, I'll be delighted to welcome you to my web conference, which happens once a week. Until then, goodbye for now.